But let's see what Vaati has to say about it. Maybe he got his hands on it and he's able to release it. Maybe he had some NDA release.
This brand new footage of Armored Core 6. I'm curious, what do you see? Armored Core or Souls?
The boss fights just look so good. It's probably a little loud. Turn it down a little bit.
Truth is, there's a bit of both here, honestly. I recognize the three-dimensional combat of Armored Core. I've seen its familiar mission structure, its atmosphere, and the unrivaled customization potential.
It's a fucking roller droid from Star Wars.
Lays claim to. But finally, no one can deny that there is a lot of Souls.
These next 2 months are going to be so good. We've got 16 coming out at like on the end of this week, or sorry, it's Friday, so next week, right? Next Thursday, 16 comes out, and then just like in wait, this comes out in August. In 2 months, the Armored Core 6 comes out. It's going to be so good.
Traditional Armored Core, the pacing and the telegraphed attacks would not look out of place in a Souls game. Even the stagger system is basically second.
Oh yeah.
Now,
bye.
There's a lot I could say right now, but I'm honestly really tired of this whole debate, and I prefer to move on because there is now so much more to talk about instead.
It's interesting that a lot of people are arguing about that, but I think it's just because Souls has been so prevalent, and it's been a long time since Armored Core has been like a major staple game. I don't think it ever really was, and Souls has just really entered like the mainstay media, like a little bit with Bloodborne, a little bit with Dark Souls 3, and definitely with Sekiro, and then absolutely with Elden Ring.
Namco has given me about 4 minutes of gameplay to share here today, but
okay, yeah. So he did play the game, and then he had some an NDA release from Bandai.
A lot more than this. Press were actually able to see a live demo of basically this entire mission, and you know the best part of that live demo? It's that unlike
it reminded me of Mass Build of that. Are you meaning like Mass Effect, or like was that a typo? Mass Builder. Have you ever played an Armored Core game? They're fucking amazing, and especially with if you like build tweaking, they're insane. Like every single piece of this mech is customizable. You can change the shoulder piece, you can change the head, you can change this body, you can change the fucking feet and the legs. I think it's mostly just the legs that you can change. Each arm component, there's like you usually have like 4 different guns. There's different leg components, there's the jetpacks, there's your HUD is interchangeable depending on which pieces you have. You can change how much you're able to see, how your lock-on works. It's really insane. Mass Builder, I've never heard of that. I'm gonna pull this over here first. Because I wonder if it's oh, it's a 2019 game. Okay. MASS Builder. Huh. Oh yeah, this is 100% like a it's Armored Core, but they pushed it more towards Gundam. You can even like make Gundams in it, pretty much. Yeah, because I'm seeing people actually like making like Unicorn Gundam. I see someone made Voltron. Yeah.
Like in this gameplay, the HUD, the heads-up display, was completely enabled.
All parts of the mech, even at decals. Also, mech girls, oddly. I mean, what do you mean oddly? That's par for the course.
A lot of attention to that, and while I don't have any
I feel like
footage
Armored Core has a very gritty like feel to it. Like it has all the customizability um of that kind of thing. Maybe a little, probably a little bit less, actually a lot less on like the aesthetic wise, right? It's a lot of like balance tweaking. You saw someone made one? Oh my god. Like that one anime where like the girls transform into like into robots, and there's the whole scene where like the chick just like walks over to the gasoline pump and like literally pours it inside of her mouth, and everyone's freaking out, and then she transforms into a motorcycle and drives away.
of it. This is roughly what it looks like. Feel free to pause here, but I will break down this HUD.
Like if you like
more
Souls
in-depth
and you think of
later in
Souls
the
as like a
video so
gritty
you can
like
understand
game,
it all.
like imagine that, but
I
like
don't know why they haven't just shown it. I think it's actually the most genius part about the game that I saw, and I can't wait to explain why. But right now, though, I guess I should just.
so he
showcase
thinks the HUD is awesome,
I have.
but they won't really be able to show the HUD. That's interesting.
In this mission, it's our goal to.
I've been wondering what the
infiltrate
HUD's gonna
this
look out,
huge facility.
look
It's
like,
occupied by.
because that's probably one of the most like I think not bipolar, polarizing things is I feel like for a lot of people is the Armored Core HUDs and like the way they lock on and they aim a lot, because it's a lot different than like any other game. It's not just like cursor and you aim at that. It's usually like a window, and as long as you have the target inside that window, you auto lock onto the shots. Unless you're using like a precision weapon like a sniper, then you will have a full-on scope that you can enter into.
Addicts, basically. They're people that have been using that substance that's called coral as a drug. But the facility is also occupied by a group of arms dealers who have this RAD logo, and it's their machines that
The customizability in Armored Core, a lot, it's not just like aesthetic customization, it's you're talking about the mask thing still? You're just looking through the Discord at different builds. I saw the Steam and I saw someone made like the original Megazord. I saw not Zoltron, a Voltron. Oh, wait. I'm mixing myself up now. It's Voltron, right? And then I saw a Unicorn Gundam.
Your intrusion as well. In the showcase, FromSoftware emphasized the multiple paths that you can take within the mission. You can sort of see those upper and lower paths here off to the left, and they lead to a bridge in the distance, but this player's build at least has very efficient flight capabilities, so they use that to take a more direct...
It's on my Discord. All right, let me pull it up. Oh, it's I don't have Discord open. Oh no. Oh, I did have Discord open. Wait, what was that? Oh, okay. I was reading the message right there. General gaming. I haven't read anything that's going on here. What's going on? Oh my god, the fucking person's name. Does overmelding ever go back up to the 40% chance on the first one? Did anyone reply to that? Reply. More melds is meld percent is I'm not trying to is proportional. Oh, you're there. Okay. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I was about to answer your question. Yeah, meld percentage is proportional to how many melds you have. So one meld, depending on the meld slots, right? One is 100%. If you have the slot for it, it's 100%. You have the next slot, it's 40%, and then it goes down to 17% after that, I think, and then it just keeps going. There is a limit on how many melds you can have on a piece of gear, just flat out. I don't remember how many it is. I think it's like 4 more, or no, it's 5. Wait, it's pentameld, so you can have 3 more than the 2 slots or something like that. Okay, so it depends on the main stat. So if it depends on the main stat of the gear, it'll also reduce the amount that you can get. So like say you use you're using like a CP meld, right? And it normally has 8, and then you're over melding and you've already maxed out how much CP you can put on this gear pretty much. So then instead of CP 8, it'll be like a 40% meld instead of 100%, and it'll say CP 6 instead of 8. So things like that will reduce over time. But that's with like both CP materia 10s. If you drop down to a CP 9, materia 9, almost all of your overmelds are going to be 9s, not 10s. I don't know if that's going to help you or if you're already doing that. Oh, this is the Kingsglaive guy you were talking about with the model being the same. Nice. And then oh my fucking god. Yeah, you can really fucking customize in that game. Holy shit. God damn it. Holy shit. Oh, where'd my fucking shit go? There he is.
Approach.
It's you Gundam Knuckles? Oh my god. Let me know if that answered your question, Rem. I'm not 100% sure on how to meld either, but I do know you want to go I'll just tinker with it and hope that when I make my 70 gear, I can do at least a few overmelds to make the 70 to 80. You shouldn't need to overmeld at all, especially once you get to level 70. You can start buying script gear to get you into the next like 10s. Yeah. Dude, I like 1 to 90'd all of my classes without like ever upgrading the gear. I got a level 90 crafter with a level 1 tool. I think my weaver. I was using a level 1 weaving needle, and I got it to level 90 because all I did was scripts, and I did it in like a week. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, just find something that's easy to make. So you want to look for something specifically easy to make in that like level 10 gap. So like so like say there's like the 75 item is like 2 materials, and like every other item is like 3 materials. Get that 2 material one, craft like 100 of those items, and you'll get to of like the basic item for it, and you'll go from like 70 to 75, and then craft all of those, and then turning those all in will get you from 75 to 80, and then lo and behold you're capped on white scripts. At least that's what I did. There should still be XP bonuses. Also, if you have a friend who's a mentor, be in a party with them when you're doing shit, when you're crafting. They don't have to be a crafting mentor. Just being a mentor and being in the same party as them and standing next to them, you get 150% XP bonus. You Gundam Knuckles. God damn it. Oh. All right.
So obviously, vertical and horizontal flight is a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, I 1 to 90'd all of my shit in a matter of in like 2 weeks, and then or like 1 to 80'd on my newer character. I 70 to 90'd at the same time in the same 2 weeks. So I went from 1 to 80 and 70 to 90 on all crafters in 2 weeks doing that, and it wasn't that hard. I'm good. Thank you.
This game. The energy consumption during vertical flight in particular reminded me a lot of the early generations of Armored Core. So you can fly upwards, but it's probably near impossible to achieve sustained vertical flight, which I think is a good thing.
Meow.
As it stops you from flying over
Meow, meow, meow,
what
meow,
is
meow.
clearly more level design.
Meow, 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 meow.
Cat. I will bug cat. Oh, it looks super good. It looks super good. So if you weren't here for the Final Fantasy 16 demo, I have literally nothing bad to say about it. Like, I had one bad thing to say about it, and that like the cutscenes were like straight anime episodes. Like you'll have gameplay, or in at least the demo, in like at least the demo, you'd have like 10 minutes of gameplay, and then you'd have like or you'd have like 10 minutes of gameplay for one, and then you have like a full anime episode. It'd be like 20-30 minutes long, and then you'd have like 2 minutes of gameplay, and then you'd have another like anime episode. Minimally tainted. That's a good yeah, the demo was major. Like the demo gave like made like the whole first like 10% of the game, or not, I don't, probably not 10%, but like the whole like beginning gave massive spoilers for that shit. And I definitely, and the like demo that you unlock after you beat the actual demo had like less spoilers, and I felt like was a better demo. All right. Let's watch. Yeah, but the Armored Core definitely, it's so overshadowed with me just playing the 16 demo though. That's the thing. I hope Armored Core has a demo as well. But this, yeah, it definitely Armored Core looks like it's gonna be super good
than Armored Core has traditionally had, which is amazing. One thing that does seem different though is it seems like you're way more energy efficient while flying and gliding horizontally in this game, which is something that seems to be
I do like the ability, the exploration of this game
is basically
in comparison to a lot of like other games.
Can be held for more distance and a continued overboost, so to speak.
Because look at, like, he took like the short path just by flying.
Did you hear that little beep? So we're now in range of those enemies down there, and if you could see the HUD, then you would know that our lock-on has just automatically jumped onto the closest one. Our missiles are now primed, and we're now in what I'm calling a soft lock-on state. In this state, we still have really free, unrestrained, unguided movement of our mech, and it seems the lock-on can be freely moved between enemies. This should be more familiar to Armored Core fans because it's closer to the way that lock-on has traditionally worked in Armored Core.
So there's like soft and hard lock-ons.
Keeping enemies within your sights in order to shoot at them, and the lock-on kind of does its own thing. So if we fire our missiles now, which they do, you can see one missile fly off to each nearby enemy, stunning them and giving.
I am kind of sad that we still haven't seen the HUD. I really want to see what the HUD looks like. Although I know that depending on your mech, the headpiece, usually it changes what your HUD looks like too.
And take them out.
Or it doesn't usually change it, but it can.
Except at some point, the player locked on.
So that might be why they haven't showed it
manually. And now we've transitioned into what I'm going to call a hard locked on state.
Yeah, the combat just looks so fluid and fast and like able to like
finally falls off, but
has really good like
enemies up top,
three-dimensional
so
combat.
Goes up and commits to more hard locked combat against them. And again, in this hard locked state, we see a lock that entirely dictates the direction you're facing.
Yeah, with
that is not how lock-on has traditionally worked in Armored Core. In fact, the absence of
that dodging though
is, I think, actually a big part of what contributed to
just the combat alone for Armored Core and Final Fantasy 16 feel like they're going to be good games no matter what.
Traditional identity. So
at this point,
you'll recognize this lock-on state from Souls. But before all the Armored Core fans get upset by this, perhaps rightfully so, remember the genius kind of is that the soft lock-on state, the traditional lock-on state, still seems to exist. And I think playing with that lock-on state will be viable, and it will give you benefits, although you're probably missing out by not hard locking on sometimes.
Yeah,
and allowing the player
the speed of like being able to like
bound to a single enemy,
dash through.
Have your movement strafe around.
Oh, we saw like a split second of like some HUD right there.
What's more, in this hard lock-on state, notice how all 4 missiles go to their single target here instead, as opposed to in the soft lock-on state where those missiles were spread evenly around the area to each enemy. That enables some really cool strategy, I think. And speaking
that is
of
actually really cool.
This player's combat strategy seems to be to use their machine gun to stagger these smaller enemies. Enemy stagger bars are seen here, and they build up visually just like they do in Sekiro, and you can see the moment that stagger kicks in here. In this staggered state, they've said that enemies take a ton more damage, and that makes it the perfect time to hit them with all your burst damage, which this player does with their barrage of 4 missiles. Or another thing you can do while the enemy is staggered is
Melee.
this. You can
Spy.
beat enemies so far with this kick attack. Though I feel like this enemy only flew so far because it was already staggered, though. In any other situation, the kick attack probably just builds up their stagger.
The kick might have also killed them.
Next clip.
And so there's ragdolled, maybe.
Waypoint in the showcase, and it seemed to function a lot like a fog gate would in Souls, except when I watched, the player actually took about 10 seconds to hack open this gate. They were vulnerable the entire time they were doing that, and they even got ambushed during that process. So it's a cool way to sort of stop you from progressing too far. In Souls, you can just like run past everything, so it's kind of good that they stop you doing that here. But here they enter a tight.
You can probably still just run past everything.
These in Armored Core
as long as you do it right.
force you to fight quite differently than you would have out in the open. Often in past Armored Core games, your missiles would become useless inside, especially if they're the type that fire upwards or outwards, and your long-range weaponry might not be as good either. So that's why it's a good idea to have some close-range parts to help you out in tight spaces, like shields.
I really want to like mess with this so bad. I don't even want to play the game, really. I just want to do like a mech building simulator. Like I just want that. I just want to mess with builds for Armored Core before it comes out. I just really want to do that.
They've actually added something that I've always wanted.
I could spend like 2 hours doing that right now.
In Souls, and that's a time.
Like in one sitting, just 2 hours just doing that, and then tomorrow night I'll probably do the same thing.
Block system.
If I could.
What we know from interviews is that shields now have this brief moment when you deploy them where their defense is way stronger. It happens here.
So it's essentially a parry moment.
That should be a moment of optimal block, and that's obviously an incentive to perfectly time your blocks against strong attacks.
Yeah, it's essentially a
parry
mechanic.
Keeping your shield active all the time. Next, melee weapons. You can clearly do multiple strikes with a lot of these. And
looks like they added their new idea from Mass Builder. Like what new idea? Almost all of like the building mechanics and different things like that are from original Armored Core games, and like Armored Core was in like the 90s. And Mass Builder, I don't know. Seems like it like the it's just like create your own Gundam from what I could see.
And having these preset animations makes me think
more so than like an Armored Core similar thing.
Exclusive to the left side. Like they are,
because most parts for Armored Core are designed with like stat in mind. Like you can like change like your engines and like synaptic feedback items and different things like that are like not even like visible, as well as every single like change you make, like the skinnier your mech is, the faster it is, you'll get better jumps and stuff like that, but you have less defense. Yeah, there's also a weight mechanic in Armored Core games. So if you have if you are heavier, you are slower, but if you have better we have better defense that way, but you also like your legs have to meet your weight carry. There's like certain mechanics, like you have to have good enough boosters, because otherwise your boosters won't even be able to like actually push you. Your legs will have to have a weight. Your legs will alter your weight capacity. So it's this huge balance game, and there's tons of there's hundreds of different parts for like every type of part, and so you have a near infinite number of builds you could play as, which is part of what makes Armored Core just so good.
In many previous Armored Core games, rather than being able to dual wield them, although I could definitely be wrong on that.
There's different types of weapons. There's physical weapons like with main bullets. There's energy weapons. There's snipers, machine guns, rocket launchers, laser turrets. You can probably also send out just a natural drone as well to like harass. There's different melee weapons. If you've played Souls games, the Moonlight Greatsword has been in every single Armored Core game as well.
Next, we see the scan function for the first time. Enemies are revealed and can be locked onto through walls. I love this. Being able to peek ahead and think about your strategy is so much better than always being forced to figure things out on the fly. It enables planning based on your build, followed by execution of that plan with your reflexes.
Seems like both game has those.
That is peak Armored
Yeah,
Core
it's a FromSoftware game, so it has
Next, let's talk about build assembly.
and they've always been made like the same way.
Of Armored Core.
Oh, we get to see like
we
the
thankfully get an overview of all of the part categories.
Yeah, here you go. See, right? You get different generators.
Weapon slots, your 4 frame slots, and then your booster, your FCS lock-on part, your generator, and an expansion slot.
So your FCS lock-on will change your HUD. Your boosters will adjust how much you can how much your sprint is, or your dash, but also it'll also be affected by the weight of your mech at the same time. Expansions will do like will trigger like alternate, like I called them ultimates in my last thing, because there's like different things where you can build you have things that set on timers, cooldowns, and you can activate them, and that one of them that they show off in a lot of the cutscenes is of the different trailers is like an EMP that someone was using. And I was essentially calling them ultimates, and I got like a lot of hate or not a lot, but I got a few hate comments about that, and I was like, well, I'm not fucking wrong though. So I'm assuming that's might go in the expansion slot, or it might go in one of the weapon slots. Yeah, and then each of the normal pieces will also affect head. Also usually affects your HUD at the same time, as well as the FCS.
This is fewer categories than most Armored Core fans will be.
Yeah, most of them. I played a lot of. I called them ultimates, right? Like if it's something that sits on a cooldown, you can only activate every now and then. That's an ultimate. Like if nothing else sits on a cooldown, that one does. It's an ultimate.
We used to. Inside parts, hanger weapons, radiators, those are all missing here. That said, the parts that we do see previewed here do have some great depth to them, so I think that might...
Some gunplay? Oh, most of it's going to be gunplay.
For example, your
you have 4 different weapons that you can choose from, and like you're only going to have one melee slotted, like ever, really. If you even slot a melee, you don't have to slot a melee. Gunpla, the model kits? Oh. Are there Armored Core model kits? I don't know. Yeah, they exist. Shit. Because this one is like this is the 6th Armored Core. Armored Core has been going on for like 30 years now, I think. I played Armored Core 3 a shit ton. That's the only 97 was when the first Armored Core came out. I played Armored Core 3 a shit ton on the PS2. It came out in 2002. And that's like all of my knowledge on it is from. But yeah, usually there's more equipment variability.
Generator, which governs your energy, now has cooling built into it rather than radiators being a separate part. And then certain weapons, like this laser dagger, can perform a charge attack if held, which is a depth to the gameplay. We also see certain ranged weapons that have this charging property as well. And then there's missiles, which have unique attack characteristics, as they always have, but their descriptions here are more detailed than ever. Some are capable of multi-lock, which is when missiles...
So they simplified the variability of the customization, but then expanded... No, they simplified the customizability, but then expanded the I don't know how to word this. They simplified the number of parts, but expanded the customizability of each part.
Missiles fire at multiple targets, which I showed off earlier. Some missiles are better for AoE, creating a damage area.
I mean, if you want to spend like, I don't know, I think it's like $400 or something like that for the like soup. There's two collectible versions of this game. One of them comes with the box art model, the main mech, and the other one comes with that mech, but then also in like a garage display case. So if you want to spend that much money on the pre-order, you can.
Some are better for staggering enemies,
and then you
like
get it.
these, which contribute greatly to buildup of ACS strain. And some missiles will just be great for taking out airborne enemies, like these, which are deliberately slowed down. Missiles hound targets during lengthy airborne time, enabling heavy pressure tactics. All these build considerations are such a fun, amazing part of Armored Core that I can't wait for people.
The actual game costs $70.
If you're a new player, I think
right, it's the new AAA title cost.
Simply
But the collector's edition comes with
real end game.
The display model is a foot long. So like the display case is a foot long, and then it has I think it's like an 8-inch model mech inside of it or something like that.
In Armored Core is learning to understand the complex stats and specs of each part seen down here. Though, if you think these stats are overwhelming, I've got news for you. So, this is probably the simplified version. It reminds me a lot of Armored Core 4, where you were shown the most important stats.
Yeah, this is all the fucking shit.
But then you could toggle the display to reveal this. Yeah, so stats can get pretty intense, and while having a simplified view and glanceable icons is obviously the more modern approach, I really hope that they don't shy away from these overwhelming stat screens because they are such a hallmark of the series. In the showcase, the player actually accessed this garage mid-mission after being destroyed by this quad-legged enemy. Their mid-range biped build was having a lot of trouble dealing any kind of damage to this enemy at range, so they wanted to change their build to an agile, close-range one instead. And they did it all manually, and it took less than a minute, and it was so convenient. Instead of having to do the entire mission again, they simply died, they loaded up the garage from the menu, they tweaked their build, and then they returned to the checkpoint that they had unlocked in the
That's
mission,
interesting.
and they were back with a different build completely. But as to the fight itself, there's actually so much.
I'm usually like for like harder gameplay, but I don't think I see any problem with that.
Much to break down in this fight, but the main thing I really want to talk about happens here, where they finally stagger the enemy. Whereas in Sekiro, this would enable an execution on stagger, in Armored Core 6...
I need to play Sekiro. I haven't played it. It's like the ones... It's like the one FromSoftware game I haven't played.
Extra damage, so if you have burst attacks, now's the time. What's more, it seems you can prolong this staggered state with certain attacks, keeping them stun-locked with the right combo, potentially, which might give a really high skill ceiling.
The combo ability of, like, the way he's... Like, he got the stagger off, and he had, like, such a good combo right there.
If you listen carefully here, you can hear a narrator say, "Alright, tourist, that's enough." That's because the enemy leader of this facility has been shit-talking you this entire time. The dialogue that I heard was witty and well-delivered, and that is a very welcome change from past Armored Core games. There was also some banter between this narrator and
I feel like the story amount of like story that story writing and dialogue that FromSoftware has learned and like can bring into this and can learn from other games and is definitely going to help the story in this. I feel like a lot of Armored Core, the story was kind of where it lacked a lot. Like its customizability, its combat were all really good, and especially like Armored Core 4 Answers had really good PvP. But the story was generally where the Armored Core kind of lacked. And I feel like it's going to be really good. I know a lot of people like the story, I'm not saying it was bad, but it was just not like like amazing.
Operator who is there to support you through your missions and warn you about what's ahead. And a main boss is ahead. But before this, in the demo, the player actually called a resupply drone, replenishing their health, their repair kits, and their ammo, and then it was time to fight this thing. A boss that has its own health and stagger meter that appears at the top of the screen. Its attacks are extremely well animated and telegraphed, and it has a ton of area denial and AoE, and it's just so well animated, and it looks like such a great fight. It also has 2 lock-on points, a weak spot at the front, and a shoot at the top, which I guess flying builds might be able to take more advantage of. I wonder how a slow tank build would deal with something like this, though. It seems like it would be hard to get distance and
Usually slow builds just don't work in Armored Core is the problem. A lot of it, like sometimes they do, but most of the time it's no. You're just gonna die. You need to be fast. You can't take the damage. You guys gotta dodge it.
dodge with a tank, hey. Anyway, as promised, let me recreate the heads-up display in more detail, starting with the most important things. First up is your AP, your armor points.
Oh, we can
on
actually see
HUD,
some of the
basically,
HUD.
which was displayed numerically and with a slider around here. When the player took damage, this number and the slider would obviously deplete, and the screen would also distort a little bit, especially at the edges, which you can kind of see here. Then there was the energy gauge.
I do find it
seen right
interesting
here.
that
This was
like
depleted by
Bandai
things
didn't
like
let him
flight,
show
quick
off
boosting, and I think melee
the
as well.
HUD in the
Of course,
gameplay.
in Armored Core, how big this bar is determined by the capacity of your generator part, and how fast it depletes and recovers is determined by the energy output of that generator and the cumulative energy drain of all of your parts. Of course, the efficiency of your boosters will probably also play a part. Above it was a stagger bar. It was empty by default, but would fill up with orange from the center, just like this, whenever you took damage, and then it would deplete if you didn't take damage for a few seconds. The same goes for enemies. If you get staggered though, I think you just sort of pause for a couple of seconds, and previous
It's interesting they
interviews
gave
seem
us
to
a stagger.
suggest that you'll start falling if you're in the air as well. Next, there was like a box here for the expansion slot. So extensions are a category of parts that have traditionally allowed you to do unique things like jam enemy radar or shoot down enemy missiles automatically. Sometimes these extensions were activated manually, sometimes they're passive, and they're like my favorite part category in our.
So like ultimates, and you have the option to make them passives. Like I said,
Armored Core because they give a ton of character to your build. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure the demo had no expansion part equipped, so this box was empty. Next to it were 2 bars. One was a visual indicator for your repair kits, of which the player had 3. Armored Core has never had an Estus flask equivalent before, but it does now. These can be activated
I don't think it's a bad
instantly
thing.
to heal the player, and it seems they can be replenished at supply stations, which can be called in certain missions, apparently. Underneath repair was a bar that said scan. When activated to scan surroundings for enemies, this bar would take a little while to regenerate, and then it could just be used again. It wasn't long though.
Yeah, it was a scan
10
cooldown.
seconds
Yeah.
between each scan, maybe. On the bottom right were 4 familiar weapon slots. They showed your total ammo and your remaining magazine ammo for your left arm, left back, and right back weapons, respectively. This character has missiles on their right back, a machine gun on their right arm, a shield on its left back, and a blade on its left arm. Now, a recent interview stated that all 4 weapons are bound by default to all 4 controller triggers, and that all of your weapons
Okay.
can be fired at once, which is not how it's worked in any previous.
I kind of remember like R3s being like I'm kind of remember using R3 to activate back weapon.
That
and
sounds kind
L3.
of insane, honestly. And pretend you're holding a controller. I cannot fathom, for the life of me, how you're supposed to fire all 4 weapons with your pointer and middle finger, and then doesn't that just leave your thumbs free for assault boosting and moving and interacting and changing weapons? just your thumbs for all those actions seems very difficult.
How does he hold the controller? Does he claw grip? Does he claw grip? How does he hold the control? Armored Core players usually claw grip. They do this, where like the these are done with these two fingers. The pinky is pretty much out of it, and then they use the thumb and forefinger. Or I realize I was out of screen. These so they use like they just keep the pinky out of it, and use like the ring and index or ring and middle for the triggers, and then add in the index and the thumb for all that. So like, yeah, a lot of the Armored Core players do that. But like, I don't know anyone else that does that really. Like I've seen the other people do that, but at the same time, like just like, yeah, I just use my thumbs for everything on here on the front, and then I just double this. And then if you want, you can get one of like the like $200 like pro controllers that they've released that have like the extra buttons down here if you want.
So I'm extremely keen to get a hold of a demo and see what the deal is here. There was a vertical speed gauge on the left. There was what looked like an altitude gauge.
Yeah, I'm not
on the
100%
right.
sure what,
There was
like,
even a
why
compass
he's
at the
confused
bottom
on that.
that was actually pretty cool because it had red dots for all of the enemies around you, which I assume would actually be pretty useful when helping to locate the enemies that are just outside your field of view. Then the mission objective was written top left, a waypoint marker.
Well, you were talking about using a keyboard, mouse, and controller, like right, like doing both. Just have the keyboard and mouse on the ground, and you can use your feet and then controller with your hands, or the other way around. I don't know. And yeah, I could see someone using a controller with their feet and then keyboard mousing. There you go. You got it. You ever seen No Game No Life? The first episode when she's like playing, he's like playing like four accounts. He's using like four mice at once, like two with his feet, one with each hand. Could be an oversight kind of thing. Like, why would they want they see anything other than cool action? Yeah, I don't know why they don't want the HUD shown. It is interesting.
on screen for that objective.
I'm sure it's not much different than
enemy
any other
credit
Armored
rewards
Core.
would
Like,
pop
this
up
doesn't look
when
that
you
much different than any other
complete.
Armored Core.
Of course, as mentioned earlier, the center of the screen features your fire control system, your lock-on, essentially. It's circular like it was in Armored Core 5, and while you're out of combat even, it stays in the center of your screen, and it has these sliders that help you keep track of your remaining magazine capacity as you fire your left and right arm and back weapons, which I'm a huge fan of.
I'll be bowing to
the
you if you
UI
can do that on
is
Final Fantasy
nice.
14.
It's super clean.
I'm gonna play. We're gonna do P12S. No, sorry, we're gonna do top, and I'm gonna be playing with nothing but keyboard, but no keyboard, just mice, just normal mice, like not even like any side buttons, just the top two button mice. I'm gonna be playing with two mice on the for my hands, two for my feet. I'm gonna be playing in first person. We're gonna beat P12. We're gonna beat top.
Displays
we're not doing that.
Information, but it's this lock-on behavior that I think is the most fascinating thing about Armored Core 6 so far, and this is the part of the UI that I kind of love the most. So again, when you get in range of an enemy, this lock-on element jumps over to them, while the lock-on display itself starts to display that enemy's health and stagger meter at the top, in addition to your ammo in the bottom left and right. Inside the lock-on, though,
Beat top
there's this
using
little
Donkey
number
Kong
which
bongo
dictates
controller.
how many of your missiles will
You gotta
go to this
you gotta beat it while using the the DDR pad.
enemy should you fire them. Again, if you're soft locked on, that number will be split.
That's it. So there was the girl who beat Elden Ring twice at the same time, one using controller, the other using the DDR pad. I'm gonna make a second account. I'm gonna get a whole I have a PS5. I just have to update it to Endwalker, and then I have my computer. So we're gonna beat top. I'm gonna play both healers. and I'm gonna play one with a DDR pad and the other one with a controller.
Between nearby enemies, and if you're hard locked on, all of your missiles will go towards them. Additionally, the lock-on actually updates with an enemy's distance from you, which is extremely important information because staying at optimal weapon range is a really big thing in Armored Core. And it also shows little damage numbers which pop up as you pop off, and that's really important to give you visual feedback on the effectiveness of your range or the effectiveness of your weapon type. You want to know if you're dealing damage, and I always loved this feature when it was added in Armored Core 4, so I'm very glad to see that return. I even noticed some little enemy status words pop up around the lockbox. Like
The HUD doesn't seem
unaware
overcrowded,
would pop up if
especially
the
for
enemy didn't know
Armored
you were
Core.
stealthed, and
Armored Core, the HUD
ACS
could be
load
kind of
limit,
distracting
I
sometimes.
think, popped up
You had to
if
like
you were
naturally
staggered.
try and just ignore it.
So this
Move past it a little
lock-on
bit.
is doing a lot of heavy lifting in Armored Core 6, and I love it. I'm glad they've baked so much information into this UI because that is such a huge part of what Armored Core is all about, and what their design team deserves props for is the fact that they've baked all this information in while keeping everything looking sleek and unobtrusive. It's very clever design, and
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
hope
saying.
they
Like
show off a
it's
HUD
not it's
soon,
not hard
because
to
I'm probably just
like
butchering
move
it in Photoshop
past it.
now. I have so much more to say about this demo, but it should probably wait for when we get new footage, or for if I get my hands on it, if I'm lucky. In the meantime,
I
if
do
you're
hope they
curious
release
about
a
Armored
demo.
Core, then please check out
Like,
my recent video.
A
where
lot of
I
like
show
the newer
off
games that have released released demos. One, it shows that the game is actually pretty much in a completed state, which is really good, and it creates a lot of buy-in for players. And then two, they've been really good, right? Liza P was actually it played pretty good. And fucking 16 was fucking amazing.
every single old Armored Core game. And I think that video will just always stand as a way for you guys to learn a ton about the series. if
So
you
many
don't
Armored
have the
Cores.
time to play for yourself. And I had an amazing time
I have that one right here, Armored Core 3. I think I still have the case somewhere.
playing all of the old games. But until next time, thank you for watching. I also want to say special thanks to Con from Bandai, Australia, for getting up at midnight to pass me.
So it's pretty much done. Vaati Vidya, if you like FromSoftware games, Soulsborns, stuff like that, go check him out. Subscribe to him. He gives a lot of lore videos. He's been posting a lot of Armored Core with it coming out recently. He does really big,
story doesn't
like
begin.
in-depth Elden Ring lore videos, right? And he has a whole series called Prepare to Cry for Souls games. Where's the Prepare to Cry? Yeah, there's Demon Souls Secrets, Demon Souls, Dark Souls. He like Prepare to Cry is like the biggest thing that he has. It's a lot of they're really good
Our story
quality
doesn't
videos.
begin